Mahabhagavata, great devotee, Shrestha, chief, Datta, the surname Datta, Udurana, Sava Bhave, in all respects, Seve, worships, Nityanandara, of Lord Nityananda, Charana, lotus feet, purport and translation purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Udurana Datta Thakur, the 11th among the 12 cowherd boys, was an exalted devotee of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. He worshipped the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda in all respects. Please repeat. Udurana Datta Thakur, the 11th amongst the 12 cowherd boys, was an exalted devotee of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. He worshipped the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda in all respects. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Nagoro Ganadesha Deepika 129 states that Udurana Datta Thakur was formerly the cowherd boy of Vrindavan named Subahu. Udurana Datta Thakur, previously known as Sri Udurana Thakur, was a resident of Saptagram, which is situated in the bank of the Saraswati River near the Treshtabigara railway station in the district of Hooghly. At the time of Udurana Thakur, Saptagram was a very big town encompassing many other places such as Vasudevapura, Banosha Behita, Krishnapura, Nityanandapura, Shivapura, Sankenaga, and Saptagram. Calcutta was developed under British rule by the influential mercantile community, and especially by the Suvarnavanik community, who came down from Saptagram to establish their businesses and homes all over Calcutta. They were known as the Saptagrami mercantile community of Calcutta, and most of them belonged to the Mullik and Sil families. More than half of Calcutta belonged to this community, as did Srila Udurana Thakur. Our paternal family also came from this district and belonged to the same community. The Mulliks of Calcutta are divided into two families, namely the Sil family and the Day family. All the Mulliks of the Day family originally belonged to the same family and Gotra. We also formerly belonged to the branch of the Day family, whose members, intimately connected with the Muslim rulers, received the title Mullik. In the Caitanya Bhagavat, Ancha Kanda, chapter 5, it is said that Udurana Datta was an extremely elevated and liberal Vaishnava. He was born with the right to worship Nityananda Prabhu. It is also stated that Nityananda Prabhu, after staying for some time in Kadaka, came to Saptagram and stayed in the house of Udurana Datta. The Suvarnavanik community to which Udurana Datta belonged was actually a Vaishnava community. Its members were bankers and gold merchants. Suvarna means gold and Vanik means merchant. Long ago there was a misunderstanding between Balal Sena and the Suvarnavanik community because of a great banker, Gauri Sena. Balal Sena was taking loans from Gauri Sena and spending money extravagantly, and therefore Gauri Sena stopped supplying money. Balak Sena took revenge by instigating a social conspiracy to make the Suvarnavaniks outcast, and since then they have been ostracized from the higher castes, namely the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. But by the grace of Srila Nityananda Prabhu, the Suvarnavanik community was again elevated. It is said in the Caitanya Bhagavat, Yateke vanika kula udorana haite pavrita Adi-lila divya nahika ihate. There is no doubt that all the community members of the Savanavani community were again purified by Sri Nityananda Prabhu. In Saptagram, there is still a temple with a six-armed deity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that was personally worshipped by Srila Udarana Datta Thakur. On the right side of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a deity of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and on the left side is Gadadhar Prabhu. There are also a Radha Govinda Murti and a Shalagram Shila, and below the throne is a picture of Srila Udarana Datta Thakur. In front of the temple there is now a big hall, and in front of the hall is a Madhavi Lalita plant. The temple is in a very shady, cool and nicely situated location. When we returned from America in 1967, the executive committee members of the temple invited us to visit it, and thus we had the opportunity to visit this temple with some American students. Formerly, in our childhood, we visited this temple with our parents because all of the members of the Savanavani community enthusiastically take interest in this temple of Udarana Datta Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur adds in his Anabhasya, in the Bengal year 1283 or 1876, a Babaji of the name Nitai Das arranged for a donation of 12 bigaras of land, about 4 acres, for the temple where Udarana Datta Thakur worshipped. The management of the temple later deteriorated, but then in 1306 or 1899, through the cooperation of the famous Balaram Malik of Hooghly, who was a sub-judge, and many rich Savanavani community members, they managed the temple. The management of the temple improved greatly. Not more than 50 years ago, one of the family members of Udarana Datta Thakur named Jagamohan Datta established a wooden murti of Udarana Datta Thakur in the temple, but the murti is no longer there. At present, a picture of Udarana Datta Thakur is worshipped. It is understood, however, that the wooden murti of Udarana Thakur was taken away by Sri Madan Mohan Datta and is now being worshipped with a Shalagram Shila by Srinath Datta. Udarana Datta Thakur was the manager of the estate of the big Zamindar in Nahati, about 1.5 miles north of Katwa. The relics of this royal family are still visible near the Dainhata station. Since Udarana Datta Thakur was the manager of this estate, it is also known as Udaranapura. Udarana Datta Thakur installed Gaunitai deities that were later brought to the house of the Zamindar, which was known as Vanoyari Bada. Srila Udarana Thakur remained a householder throughout his life. His father's name was Srikara Datta, his mother's name was Bhadravati, and his son's name was Srinivas Datta. That's it. Done. That's a big purport. So it's interesting, we hear about these great souls, and most of the time they're just like names on a page. We don't really get to know so much about who these people are. So I did a bit of digging, and I kind of like to share a little bit of that about this person. Like, I couldn't find anything so much about his who he was in Krishna Lila, Subahu. Couldn't find any information so much about him. He was one of the 12 principal cowherd boys, as Dhammakarani was mentioning yesterday, there's different groups of cowherd boys, as with the gopis. So in this book, they call it what is it called? Gaura Ganadesha Dipika. It gives who the different personalities are in Krishna Lila and Gaura Lila. So these 12 principal cowherd boys from Vrindavan, in Lord Chaitanya's Lila, this is who they are. So Abhiram Gopal Thakur is an incarnation of Sridham. Sundarananda Thakur, an incarnation of Sudama. Dhananjaya Pandit, so these ones are all from Lord Chaitanya's Lila, the incarnation of Vasudharma. Gaudidas Pandit, incarnation of Subala. Kamalakara Pipila, incarnation of Mahubala. Udarata Datta Thakur, incarnation of Sabahu. Mahesh Pandit, an incarnation of Mahubahu. Purushottam Das Thakur, an incarnation of Stoka Krishna. Nagara Purushottam, an incarnation of Dharma. Parameshwari Das Thakur, an incarnation of Arjuna. That's not the Arjuna from the Pandavas, that's a different Arjuna. Kala Krishna Das, an incarnation of Lavanga. And Kula Veka Shrida is an incarnation of Kusham Sarava. So there's a little description here. Udarana Datta Thakur. Udarana Datta Thakur is an eternal associate of Lord Nityananda. He is one of the most prominent of the 12 cowherd boys who had assisted Lord Nitai manifest his magnanimous pastimes. Sri Gaura Ganadesha Dipika reveals that Udarana Datta was an incarnation of Subahu, an intimate friend of Krishna and Balaram in Vrindavan. Nityananda Prabhu was his very life and soul, and he had served his master in all possible ways. Pramavilas reveals that Lord Nitai used to relish the prasad cooked by Udarana Datta. Not only he, but even Sri Gaura Hari enjoyed his cooking a lot. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj reveals that Sri Udarana Datta Thakur was the foremost of the Mahabhagavat devotees who completely engaged his mind, body and words in serving Nityananda Prabhu as his eternal Gurudev. At Saptagram, that Lord Nitai had performed the most magnanimous pastimes of delivering the members of a gold merchant community who were looked down upon in those days. There was another reason for Lord Nityananda's advent to Saptagram, and it was to reunite with his eternal servant, Sri Udarana Datta Thakur. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada mentions in his purport that Srila Udarana Datta was born with the right to worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Sri Udarana belonged to a caste of Suvarna Vaniks, or gold merchants, who were looked down upon in the society in those days. Lord Nityananda, however, stayed in Saptagram at the house of Sri Udarana Datta for many months, and by his grace and association, all those Suvarna Vaniks regained their stature. And Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat also glorifies the ecstatic pastimes that Patita Pavana, Lord Nityananda, had manifested at Saptagram in order to deliver the members of the so-called outcasts. Surrendering his life unto the lotus feet of his spiritual master, Sri Udarana, who hailed from a very opulent gold merchant family, subsequently renounced his wealth, fame, prestige, and accepted the robes of a mendicant to further the cause of Krishna consciousness. Being Nityananda's Prabhu's personal cook, Sri Udarana received the rare fortune of accompanying the Lord wherever he travelled. There's actually a famous temple Prabhupada mentioned it, but and the deities, there's a picture here, but I guess I can't show you, of the Sadbhuj, the six-armed form of Lord Caitanya, then Lord Nityananda and Gadadhar Pandit on the other side. Radhanath Swami also has a few comments about this personality, Udarana. Sorry for just parroting everything, but they, I don't really know so much about these personalities, but it's amazing to hear. Like I said before, these names are just words on a page for a lot of us, but the idea is that we're meant to understand who these personalities are and appreciate them as great devotees. So hopefully I can help you appreciate this particular devotee who said that, I think it says in this particular part here, he's even more merciful than Lord Nityananda. So, among the associates of Lord Nityananda, the most prominent are the Dwadash Gopis, the 12 cowherd boys associated from Goloka and Vrindavan, who were always in the company of Krishna and Balaram. Kavi Kanapur in his Gaura Ganapadish Dapika describes how the cowherd boy Subahu appeared as Udarana Datta Thakur. He appeared in the year of 1481 in the town of Saptagram. His father is Shrikara and his mother is Bhadravati. Udarana Datta Thakur is called by the Acharyas as Parama Patita Pavana. That means he is the deliverer of the most fallen amongst the most fallen, supremely merciful to the most fallen. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says he is the greatest Bhagavat, greatest amongst the Vaishnavas. It's a pretty good rap. Saptagram was a place of bankers and gold merchants, a very wealthy community, but exceedingly materialistic. They are called the Savana Varnik caste. They had lots of money. Sometime before the advent of Lord Caitanya and Lord Nityananda, there was a very powerful personality. His name was Balal Singh, and he knew where to get the money from. From the Saptagam community, he took big loans from Gauri Sain. What happened was that Gauri Sain saw that Balal Singh was extravagantly misusing the money. So he decided that he wouldn't give him any more loans. But Balal Singh was infuriated. He created a whole social conspiracy. He made the whole conspiracy that these Suvarnavaniks were outcasts. They were not Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, hardly even Sudras. And in doing so, he actually succeeded to publicly ostracize the whole community of Saptagram from any respectability. People would look down at them. They were taken away from any religious privileges, and they lived under the dark cloud for a long time. Udarana Datta Thakur, Subahu, the cowherd boy from Goloka, took birth in that family. Why? Vrindavan Das Thakur explains that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially wanted to teach the world that Krishna consciousness is not dependent on any external superficial identity. And to make his statement very strong, he proclaimed the Namacharya to be Haridas Thakur, who was born in an outcast family. Sri Advaitacharya, who was the head of all Brahmins, most honoured and respected, when he performed the Shraddha ceremony, all the great Brahmins would come to his house. Very prestigious event. I am sure his wife Sita Thakur had excellent prasad too. So everyone was coming, high caste scholars, pundits, and in front of all of them he made the highest honours. He worshipped Haridas Thakur. A powerful statement. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu praised Haridas Thakur as if he had many mouths, and how he empowered him. So similarly, Udarana Datta Thakur, he was born in a very materialistic class of men who were utterly disrespected from a religious and spiritual perspective. There's a little quote here, again by Radhanath Swami. Because he is a Vaishnava, because he is attached to Lord Caitanya, Lord Nityananda Prabhu and the holy name, he not only delivered his entire caste. It is said that a Vaishnava who has a pure heart not only delivers his family, not only delivers his caste, but purifies the entire world. Not only the entire world, but purifies the entire universe. That is how Krishna manifests through the heart of his devotees. Radhanath Swami explains how Prabhupada is connected actually to Udarana Datta Thakur through the family lineage. Srila Prabhupada explains his personal connection to Udarana Thakur in the Adi-lila of Sri Caitanya Caritamrita. Would you like to hear? Srila Prabhupada explains how in the province of Saptagram there were all these gold merchants, and by the mercy of Udarana Datta Thakur, they all became pure devotees. We are going to discuss that after some time, how that happened. Prabhupada explained that when the British wanted to establish Calcutta as a city and the capital of the British Empire in India, previously it was called Kaligat. Even now it is called Kaligat, as it was named after the deity, but the British changed it to Calcutta. And in order to establish that city, the British called the gold merchant bankers from Saptagram to set up their businesses and make their homes in Calcutta, which they did. Srila Prabhupada said that half of Calcutta was the people of Saptagram at its initial stages. Then Srila Prabhupada tells how these gold merchants from Saptagram during the Mughal rule, they were so dear because they were qualified and they did such great service to the society that the Mughal king gave them the title Mulik. And Prabhupada says in the Mulik family there were two branches, the Sain and the Day. Prabhupada said that his father, from his paternal side, the descendants from Saptagram, and their surname is Day. Prabhupada says that because of this, all the days of the Calcutta area would regularly go to Saptagram to worship the deity of Udarana Datta Thakur, because not only was he from the same line, but he was such an empowered devotee of Lord Nityananda and Lord Caitanya. So from his childhood, Prabhupada's father and mother would take him to that place, Saptagram. Prabhupada says there is a deity, the very same deity Udarana Datta Thakur worshipped, a Sadbudh, six-armed form of Lord Caitanya, carrying a bow and arrow of Ram, playing a flute of Krishna, and holding the danda and kamandalu of Lord Caitanya is there. To the right side of Sadbudh is Lord Nityananda, and to the left is Gadadhar Pandit. There is also a deity of Radha Govinda, and below is a photograph, a painting of Udarana Datta Thakur. Prabhupada said that there is a very cool, shady courtyard, due to a vine, a Madhavi vine that grows over the whole area. It shades the whole area. Prabhupada said that when Lord Nityananda came to visit Udarana Datta Thakur, he planted that Madhavi vine, and his descendants are still giving shade to all the people there. What else have we got here? Lord Nityananda brought the devotees to the village of Saptagram. First they brought the devotees to the home of Udarana Datta Thakur. Udarana Datta Thakur is called by the acharyas as Param Patita Pavanam. That means he is the deliverer of the most fallen amongst the most fallen, supremely merciful to the most fallen. Krishnadas Kaviraj says that he is the greatest Bhagavat, greatest amongst the Vaishnavas, because nobody could conceive that these very materialistic merchants of gold, so materialistic, so attached, working like asses day and night just for money, how can they become devotees? Besides that, at that time, he explained previously in our talk, They were practically outcasts. They were socially ostracized, both on a social and religious level. They had no standing. They were considered the most difficult people to reach because their minds were constantly absorbed in pounds, shillings and pence, as they say in England. Udarana Thakur, he transformed the entire town of Saptagram just by his influence alone into pure Vaishnavas. So Radhanath Swami goes on to explain some things, but I found a couple of actual pastimes somewhere here. This is the pastimes of Udarana Thakur. Oops. Lord Nityananda accepted Sri Dvikara as his dear servant and soon initiated him. Upon initiation, Sri Dvikara received the new name Udarana, one who delivers, a name by which he became widely renowned subsequently. Sri Vasudeva Ghosh greatly glorifies the manifest pastimes of Adi Saptagram in his bhajans. Sri Vasudeva Ghosh here describes how the amazing pastimes of Vaikuntha were being manifest at the house of Udarana Thakur. One who sings the glories of Sri Udarana Datta is a fit candidate to receive the merciful glance of Lord Nityananda. Sri Udarana Datta's love and devotion for the Lord is akin to that of Sri Prahlad and Dhruva Maharaj. So they're kind of very amazing personalities, you know. The Gaudiya Treasures of Bengal has covered the pastimes of Sri Vasudeva Ghosh in a separate article. Sri Udarana Datta was Lord Nityananda's personal cook, and by accepting the prasad cooked by him, who belonged to a so-called low caste, Nityananda demonstrated to the world that Krishna consciousness is not dependent on the petty considerations of one's caste or creed. The only factor that determines one's stature in spiritual life is the love and dedication one possesses towards Sri Guru and Gauranga. Sri Udarana Thakur is a stalwart Mahabhagavat Vaishnava by such considerations. The Gaudiya Treasures of Bengal has covered the pastimes of Udarana Thakur in Baraman, where he widely preached later on in a separate article. As evident from the title, the entire place has been named after this stalwart Vaishnava. Sri Udarana Datta had a very big heart. He was not only very rich, but also extremely merciful. Once there was a devastating famine in Saptagram, and the people were dying of disease and malnutrition. But Sri Udarana Datta, feeling compassion, had then organized a massive relief program. He had set up a camp of 10 acres of land and constructed huge warehouses storing rice, lentils, vegetables, etc. The food was then utilized to feed the poor and needy. The Eastern Railway Station at Adi Saptagram presently stands on this very piece of land, which had previously been utilized for the relief purposes of Sri Udarana Datta. Being rich and influential, he had also arranged for the construction of residential buildings by clearing away the jungles so that the homeless could find shelter. Sri Udarana was a gem of all virtues. This is a story about that Madhavi tree that Prabhupada was just mentioning. Lord Nityananda spent his days at Saptagram singing and dancing in ecstasy. The entire village of Saptagram had gathered at Sri Udarana's house to catch a glimpse of merciful Nitai. Sastaba, a melodious singer, who was a favourite of Lord Nitai's, sang while Udarana Datta danced. Who else could possess more love and devotions towards Lord Nityananda? The ways of Harinam washed one and all, irrespective of one's caste, qualification or status. People were getting delivered. Lord Nityananda freely distributed the treasure of Krishna Prem that eluded even the greatest demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. But there was one Brahmana who had not yet received the mercy. Being envious, he could not tolerate the widespread chanting of the Lord's holy names. Hence, with an intention to insult Nityananda Prabhu, he arrived at the residence of Udaranadatta one day. There he started off a debate on whether the path of jnana, dry speculation, or bhakti, devotional service, was superior. Sri Nityananda did not want to defeat the Brahmana very quickly and hence prolonged the discussion. Soon it was time for lunch, and Nityananda Prabhu invited the Brahmana to accept his lunch with him. The Brahmana obliged, and after taking his bath, he sat down to honor prasad. Before accepting the prasad, the Brahmana inquired about the cook. When he heard that Sri Udarana Thakur had prepared the meal, he got very angry and wanted to leave immediately. He argued that the Brahmana cannot be accepting food that was cooked by a low caste, Suvana Vanik. Lord Nityananda cited him several references from the revealed scriptures. He tried to explain that the remnants of Sri Krishna is always pure and completely spiritual and should be always accepted irrespective of whoever had cooked it. Besides, caste and creed is something based on one's qualities and not upon birth. Nitai concluded by saying that prasadam cooked by a great Vaishnava like Udaranadatta was fit to be accepted by all. The Brahmana, being thus pacified, sat down again. The Brahmana was enraged once more, seeing Udaranadatta personally serving the prasad. He could not accept that he would have to eat food that was contaminated by a low caste. He got up from his seat once more. This time he could not be pacified. Nityananda Prabhu then asked Sri Udarana to hand him over his cooking stick. Nityananda took the stick and planted it into the ground. By his mystical potency, in front of everyone's eyes, a beautiful fragrant Madhavi tree immediately manifested from that stick. The Madhavi tree still stands today, sheltering the samadhi of Sri Udaranadatta Thakur at his house at Saptagram. The tree, as if bends down and showers its beautiful Madhavi flowers as an offering to the great Vaishnava saint. And there's a picture there. Seeing the miracle right before their very eyes, all present were stunned. The Brahmana was shocked and kept staring at the tree for some time. Coming back to his senses, he offered his respectful obeisances unto the Madhavi tree. Crying and chanting, Haribol, Haribol, he started rolling onto the ground in ecstasy and smeared the sacred dust all over his body. Getting up, he begged forgiveness from Sri Udaranadatta and Lord Nitai. He requested Sri Udarana to kindly bless him by serving him the prasadam. The prasadam, he said, would not only satisfy the hunger of his stomach, but also the thirst of pure love of God that had eluded him. Thus by the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda and Udaranadatta, the envious Brahmana was delivered. We worship the lotus feet of our spiritual master, whose causeless mercy has empowered us, ineligible fools, to gain entrance and take up service in this exalted abode of Adi-Saptagram. We seek shelter of his holy name and pray that its glories remain forever imprinted in our heart. The Gaudiya treasures of Bengal offer millions of obeisance and humble praise to Sri Nityananda Prabhu, to Sri Udaranadatta Thakur, that we advance in our Krishna consciousness, develop attachment unto his lotus feet, and are able to serve Sri Guru and Gauranga. By our honest and sincere efforts, we seek their blessings and compassion. In successfully rendering this humble service of reciting the pastimes and revealing the places of the Supreme Lord and his beloved associates, we shall consider ourselves greatly fortunate and our existence meaningful if Lord Gaurahari and our dear spiritual master kindly bless us with our endeavours. Shri Udharana Tata Thakur ki, Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki. So, yeah, these personalities are amazing to hear about, and it's not until we dig a little, and I'm no great researcher, but it doesn't take much. So next time we're reading and we hear a big, pages and pages of names, just spend a few minutes and just put in their name, and poof, all this information about these personalities comes up. So that, as Dandakaranya was saying yesterday, that enlivens us to, in our devotional service and hearing of other devotees and their great devotional service. So, even in our communities here, just hearing about devotees service and attitudes and humility, it inspires us. So hearing about these Maya Bhagavatas and Udharana Datta, he's param patita pavana. So if you're looking for the most fallen, he's looking for the most fallen of those most fallen to deliver. So, okay, I'll stop there. Anybody have any comments, questions, corrections? It's great, I didn't have to say much, I just had to read. So. Prabhu. Dara, can you grab the microphone?
Hari Om. Just want to add to your comment about how nice it is to hear about all these Vaishnavas, because in the 10th and 11th chapter of the Adi-lila we have the trunk. So 10th chapter was the trunk of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and the 11th was the lineage trunk of Nityananda Prabhu. And this 11th chapter has been very, very ecstatic because Lord Nityananda, as you said, associated with a lot of the cowherd boys in Krishna Lila, so he's quite well known for his Lila with the cowherd boys. And then there was one particular story about Lord Nityananda in the Caritamrita and elaborated in the Chaitanya Bhagavad, how Lord Nityananda was personally asked by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go back to Bengal and chant and spread glories of Krishna throughout that whole area. So he took his intimate associates, a lot of whom we hear about in this chapter, and they were chanting and dancing in complete ecstasy and abandoned. And they had no care in the world. They just get lost and go across the road, look for the river, and the river was the other way, and they go back again. They're just completely absorbed. So it's really nice to actually find out more about his chanting party and greatness of all the devotees around him, to give it more of a dimension there, a whole dimension about the Leelas in Caitanya Bhagavat and Caitanya pastime.
Yeah. Thank you. It's interesting, the Lord Nityananda is Balaram, and maybe it could be traced, but like Krishna has, they're all close with Krishna, but then Balaram also has some close friends as well. So I'm wondering if these particular ones, I don't know, I'm just speculating here, but maybe these ones that Lord Nityananda, these boys in Krishna Lila, I wonder if they're the ones that were more close with Balaram, and then he took them as Nityananda as well. Maybe you can research that. It's some homework. Okay. Kantaras Chaitanya Caritamrita Ki Jai.